Good evening and welcome. I'm Hailey Coxon and this is Share Your Stories, episode 3 on the Spirit of Motorsport TV. Welcome and good evening to you all. So tonight we have a couple of incredible boys. They joined us before. They shared some of their great motorsport memories with us and they are back again sharing more great photos and more hilarious stories. So if you want to enjoy a little bit of entertainment and some nostalgia really, and looking back from the years of Formula One in the 80s, 90s and beyond, share it with your friends, tag them in, share away and get them involved in the conversation. This is a live interactive experience, so you get the opportunity to get involved in the banter, to fire your questions at the boys, and just simply enjoy the entertainment that we've got for you over this next hour. So I really can't wait to enjoy the pictures and the private photo albums that they've been sharing with us. And soon we will introduce the boys and bring them into the studio. So good evening to you all that have joined us so far. Share away, get involved in the chat. And without further ado, let's enjoy the boys, Mr. Ed Taylor and Chris Hesse. Welcome back to the studio.
Good evening, Hailey. Good evening, Chris. Oh, look at the state of him. Fabulous.
It took me 35 years to get one over on a truckie, but I'm not going to stop now.
Oh, no, you've still not done it yet. No, good effort, mate. Good effort.
I'm coming back now.
Anyway, turn the lights down on that. We'll get some makeup on it. Fabulous. Okay.
Well, welcome back, boys. It was a huge success last time, and we're going to continue to kind of build this relationship of sharing your stories, because I know even some of our TT community and a lot of the bikers under the Spirit of Motorsport umbrella, they all love the banter. They love the stories. They loved you going back and sharing your memories.
Good.
It crosses over, doesn't it? You know, that kind of motorsport paddock family feel of wind-ups, of mischief, of memories. It all crosses over because it keeps us going and entertained, doesn't it? So thanks for joining us again.
No problem at all.
It's good to let the public know the real side of Formula One, because I only normally see it on the TV. So it's good to see behind the scenes and the characters and the mayhem, because it's all too serious now.
Oh, it's so serious, isn't it? This is I'm chatting with you boys and hearing what you used to get away with. So I can't wait to hit more. There's so much.
Mind you, I mean, the one guy that doesn't seem to be serious at the moment, and I mean, we've all got, he's a fantastic driver. We've all got opinions on him. But I've just seen some pictures, sort of like in the last half an hour, of Lewis Hamilton turning up to Imola in the most outrageous clown suit almost.
He's advertising his clothing line.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like this fantastic blue and white checkered flag sort of combo. And I mean, fair play to the guy. He's making a statement, but yeah.
I can't wait to
say it. My silly hat and my shirt aren't cutting the mustard,
no. No. Whoever's out there now, I mean, if you're looking, because Lewis is walking into the paddock, and it's incredible what he's got on. It really is. Oh, that's one of them. I think that's his camouflage suit.
Yeah.
When they when car manufacturers make cars and they don't want them to see the actual design of what it's like out on the road, they wrap them in a graphic that sort of hides all the aerodynamic tweaks and everything like that. And I think that's what he's got on there. But no, it's I mean, the guy's what he is. I mean, he's an absolute icon and what have you. He's a fantastic racing driver, and I suppose when you get to the level that he's at, you can do what you like, and to hell with everybody else. So,
Russell.
Too right.
Oh, well.
So, boys, before we do move on, I just want to give anyone that's new tuning into this new playlist or series that we've started, I'm going to introduce you just briefly, just to remind those that might have tuned in, or even to let people, the new viewers. So, Ed, yourself, you play for a band called the Buzzing Hornets, which has followed the Grand Prix for many years and supported and entertained the crowds. But before that, you did work in Formula One. So you worked with Leighton House and so many others. So you guys are going to share some pictures of that time again tonight, because I believe that was your favorite period when you worked in Formula One.
It was,
and
yeah.
You introduced Chris to this call as well, and to this chat, really, because you guys go way back from those days as well. And so Chris, both of you work at the times. Chris, was it 80s, 90s for you?
84 I started.
84.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was hard work, but it was very relaxed. You know, the guys that you work with, you know, there was so much fun. But they seem to have lost that now as it's progressed over the years. It's all very serious, and the guys don't get any downtime. They don't get time to kind of unwind and chill out. It's all work, and it's hard for them. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is as well, though, the teams have got so many people on the staff and what have you now. I mean, I keep in touch like with a lot of the transport side of it, the truckies and everything. And we were chatting yesterday to a couple of the old boys, and there were some pictures of trucks going into Imola. And I know Chris worked for Renault. But there were trucks. I think there was probably 16 Renault trucks all parked up in a line. And one of the things I just commented on was, you know, how ridiculous it is to put two cars out on the track. But one of the old boys who we chat to, there's Charlie Gethin and Steve Badger, who still work, you know, in the game now. But he said there's anything between 450 and 500 Arctics at every race.
Yeah. Would you remember when Bernie was covering all the filming of it?
Oh yeah, with all the Fokker trucks and everything. There was stacks of them,
all in a line. There must have been 30 trucks just to do the filming and the camera work over a weekend. And what was the little village they called it? Was it Bernieville or Bakerville?
Oh, something like Bakerville. It was Eddie Baker that ran it, wasn't it, for Bernie? Yeah, Bakersville. That was it. But it was
very strange. Very strange.
I mean, there's only so much gear that you can get in a garage.
Yeah.
You know, the garages really haven't changed size.
But it's like the motorhomes. I remember years ago when I was at Renault, one of the chief designers went out a little bit early.
Yeah.
Because I think he had some family out there. So he turned up at the circuit when they were assembling all these, you know, huge, great motorhomes. And when we got there, he said to me, I can't believe it. He said, they've got laser leveling devices to level the floors in the motorhome.
Yeah.
He said, but we're still doing the toes in and out on the car with a bit of fishing wire and a ruler.
Fishing line.
They've got lasers to set the floor level up in the motorhome, and he couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Mind you, I suppose if you get them a few thou out on those things, you know, it's you have like the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
You wouldn't want the champagne slipping off the table, would you, Ed?
No. But I mean, one of the things as well, and I did sort of mention this yesterday with all these trucks. I mean, back in the day, we used to have, there was probably about 15 teams. I know there's 10 teams now, but there were 15 or 16 teams. And you also had pre-qualifying.
Yeah.
Which was an hour on the Friday morning. And if you were, you know, back end, tail end Charlies, like a lot of us were, if you didn't pre-qualify to get into the weekend proper, so to speak, you'd got to be out of the paddock. You've got to be packed up and out of the paddock by 12 o'clock. And if you weren't out of the paddock by 12 o'clock, Bernie would fine the team.
That's right.
So we used to, I mean, we'd have a couple of trucks. Maybe we'd have the, you know, let's say with Jordan or something like that, we'd have the race truck, which had the cars in, and then we'd have another trailer with all the rubbish that we had to set up. and then sort of like my engine truck or something like that, and that was it. That was your three pieces. And if you didn't get into qualifying, you had to get out. Now places like Imola, where the race is this weekend, I mean that paddock was as tight as anything.
Yeah.
And if you were shoved down the bottom end, by the time everybody was set up, you could hardly get the trucks out anyway.
Yeah.
So
right.
to have all of this plant and stuff that they cart around now is unbelievable. And like I say, once you're in, and that's it. You know, there's no pre-qualifying, obviously, but that was just another little idiosyncrasy of those days. It was, go on, mate.
Pre-qualifying, I think it might have been Montreal.
Yeah.
They decided to wash the circuit about an hour before the pre-qualifying cars went out.
Really?
Couldn't believe it. They had to qualify on a soaking wet track.
Yeah.
Some idiot there decided to wash the track before.
God. Well, they won't have that problem this year. I've just read that Montreal's been cancelled.
Yeah.
So I know it's I mean that's I mean Montreal is another one of those places where it was just a fabulous weekend, and there was there was a bit of motor racing as an incidental sort of thing for us being there, you know.
So boys, we've just had a good evening from Brian Spooner, who's one of our loyal followers and supporters. Good evening, Brian. Used to race.
Good evening, Brian.
Around the mountain course. So boys, we're going to share some of your pictures because I am dying to know the stories that go with them. So I would love to start dripping them in. So we've got our glamorous assistant in the back. So this was shared on the group last week, but we didn't quite get round to it. Okay. Do we know the story behind it?
Yes, that's Pop's picture. It was, as we discussed last week, Pops was a fantastic character. Sadly, he's passed away now, but he was one of the truckies, and he had this ability to sketch like you wouldn't believe. And every race weekend, something would go up on the notice board, and that was one of them.
Oh, right.
It's quite amusing, the characters in it.
Oh yeah, I can see.
The engineers on the pit wall, and he's put little comments beside them all.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah,
I'm just having a look at that. Yeah, was that Pops who worked for Goodyear?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he just passed away earlier this year, didn't he?
Yeah, he used to he'd do pictures of all of them because he always used to wear shorts, and there was one that I'd really love to get hold of, and I wish I could. It was a picture of all the mechanics standing in their shorts because we all had different sorts of legs, and my nickname then they called me Twiglet legs. They said, and it was all these different pictures. Every weekend he put something, but that picture there that you just showed, Flavio Briatore has got it on his yacht.
No,
has he?
He asked Pop if he could have it, and he's framed on Briatore's yacht now.
Oh, brilliant!
Because he thought it was so funny.
Yeah, I mean, for those that don't know, I mean, there's a bit of a disparaging, but very apt description for the pit wall gantry podium or whatever it is. It's universally known as the Pratt Perch. And you know, I mean, work out your own way of who actually goes and sits on it. But it's always fascinated me to a certain extent because they all go and sit on the pit wall there. And years ago, all you had was like a couple of timing screens and an umbrella.
That's it, yeah.
And your two guys, you'd have your two drivers and what have you, and somebody would be holding the pit board out. But then these monstrosities started growing a life of their own, and they've probably got 3 or 4 trucks of their own now just to carry the Pratt Perch in.
Yeah.
And the thing is now, because the screens are so big and all the rest of it, you can't actually see any of the track. So it's always been a little bit, well, they're all sat up there and what have you. And okay, they can turn over the shoulders and see what's going on in the pit lane, on a pit stop and that. But in general, there's nothing they can do on that pit wall that they can't do in the back of the garage.
Yeah.
So hence the name for the description for,
we had a clear roll down sheet that come down behind the engineers. It was raining, bless them. They wouldn't get wet. And one of the truckies decided to go online and he printed off loads of goldfish and different sized fish. He cut them out and he stuck them on this clear sheet and rolled it back up. And of course, the following day we had a wet session, so the truckie went out there and unclipped it and rolled it down, and it looked like they were sitting in a fish pond, like a goldfish tank. And I think it was Steve Wilson. He went absolutely ballistic. To find out which truckie did it.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Now the thing is, does it? Does that happen these days? I don't know. It might do, but. No,
I doubt it. We had Pedals who's in that sketch. He was my engineer, and it was dashing down with rain, and we had to keep going out and pulling the car back in. And as Pedals got off the pratt perch, he put his little hoodie thing up, off his jacket, looking dry. But while he was talking to the driver, one of the mechanics got a bottle of water and quietly poured the water into his hoodie at the back. So when he went out into the pit lane, he pulled up his hood, got absolutely soaked. And the mechanics said, now you know what it's like for us. You just wouldn't get away with it now.
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't.
Brilliant.
Oh, that's Christmas.
Yeah.
This is what I mean. This was testing in Estra, I think it was. We were away for about 5 weeks.
That's a res, mate.
It's a Jerez.
Yeah.
We're all over the place.
Yeah.
And it was coming up to Christmas. I think it was the last day of the test. So we went out and bought a Christmas tree, decorated it. We had Christmas hats on.
That's it.
And even I think it was Capelli, as he came into the pit lane on the last lap, the end of the test. He waited at the end of the pit lane. He took his helmet off and he put a Christmas hat on and he drove down the pit lane to put into the garage.
Fabulous. I remember that test as well because it was pretty well on in December. Sort of getting towards the sort of like 20th of December or something like that. Yeah. Well, you and the rest of the guys all jumped on the plane and flew home for Christmas, and we'd got to drive back from the surface. You got to what? Yeah. So Hailey, nothing changes. Nothing changes. No, but the thing was, the mechanics, because they'd always get it in the neck from us truckies anyway. Because in general, if we were going to a European race or a test or something, we would leave on probably about the Sunday, something like that, depending on the distance that we'd got to go. We would leave on the Sunday, and mind you, sometimes we'd leave earlier if we thought there was a good place to stop over on the way to where we'd got to go to, and sort of have a day off and a little bit of fun and mayhem.
Yeah.
But we'd always get to the circuit on sort of like a Wednesday afternoon. And you'd park the trucks up and you'd wash them off and start getting a bit of the garage set up and everything like that. But this would be 4 of us, because we'd have two trucks in general, 2 drivers each, and the 4 of us would set up everything that was needed. Yeah. Now, like I said before, if there's 400 trucks on the road or something, you've got guys who are, you've got dedicated just lorry drivers and everything like that, and they don't do all the other side of the team the team stuff.
They're called garage technicians now, aren't they?
Well, yeah, garage. Yes, I'd have loved to have been a garage technician, but no, I was just communal garden truckies. That would suit us. But no, we yeah, I mean the mechanics they'd sort of finish off the cars and they'd load them up, and then we'd drive to the circuit and, as I said, get there on a Wednesday and what have you, and then sort of we'd all the truckies would meet up, and then we'd be off out on the Wednesday night, and then roll in some kind of a state on Thursday morning usually, and then all the mechanics who'd had sort of like 4 or 5 days off at home, sort of just doing nothing. Yeah. They'd all turn up in the travel gear and the, you know, all the what's-its and bring a load of spare parts for them that the engineers had decided had got to be bolted onto the cars. And
we did I think it was Grill, and we had 2 new truckies started, Moose and Biddy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And we were all waiting in the paddock, waiting for our truck to turn up so we can unload and get set up, and everyone's looking at their watches thinking, well, where are they? They should have been here hours ago. And all of a sudden, a big Leighton House truck comes into the paddock, and all the way down the side of it, one of them had thrown up, and it was all down the side of the cab. So they obviously had a night out the night before. And I remember Harvey, the chief mechanic, turned around and he said, "They'll do."
So they were hired on that basis.
We'll have them.
Oh, brilliant!
This was Mr. Webber when he did his first test with Benetton, and one of the mechanics, I think it was Stevie Noakes. Where the driver took his gloves off and put them on the front of the cockpit. And obviously Webber, we don't think he was asleep, but we don't hope he wasn't. I think he was focusing on something, you know, in his mind. So he got the glove and put it across his visor. And he's a great man. Mark Webber is a fantastic guy. He really is. He was great to work with. Good fun. Yeah, well,
I had a very, very short time sort of involved with him when at Minardi, and that was his sort of first year in Formula One as well in 2002. And he was a good guy. You know, he was a proper guy. He was what can we say really now? I mean, without being too PC or whatever, he was a man's man. Yeah. He's an Australian, and we know that Australians have got that way about him at times. And you know, didn't take any BS and all the rest of it. And he sort of he was a proper bloke, you know. Yeah. So he fitted in with you know, with a lot of the team. And I mean, let's face it, I mean, some of the team, like I say, with some of the truckies and that, you know, I suppose the kindest way of describing them, there were some hairy arse blokes in there, you know, and they didn't, you know, we didn't stand any nonsense from people and that. And, you know, and if the drivers mucked in with us, as some of them did, then you sort of felt, I don't know, you felt better about working for them, and it just gave you extra enthusiasm to get through some long nights and tough times, really.
Can you imagine that happening now if one of the mechanics put, you know, Hamilton's gloves like that, or, you know, Vettel? It'll all kick off. It'll be I'm sure that some of the joking around has to go on to a point. I would have thought there's some of it. Otherwise, the job would just be unbearable. I mean, why go and do this sort of game if you can't enjoy it? Yeah.
And I know it's intense, and I know all the money involved with it and everything, and it's always been that type of business. But you've got to enjoy what you do.
Exactly.
And like you were saying earlier, Chris, I just think looking at some of them now, you know, there doesn't seem to be a lot of happiness about it all. You know,
but it's just very well. there are certain boundaries, you know, maybe it's going to be nowhere near what you boys will be able to get away with.
No, and you know, I mean, we understand that things move on, you know, and but I think I've said probably in the last two episodes of this, I wouldn't last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't, you know. One thing, you know, nobody. Yeah, well, they wouldn't put up with me. And another thing is that I wouldn't put up with that way of working. I couldn't. So, what's this one?
This is Brewy, another truckie. We were staying in a lovely hotel in Germany during the race.
Yeah.
And that lion was in reception. And I'd gone to bed, and when I got up early in the morning, I opened my bedroom door to go into the corridor, and these truckies had carried it all the way up the stairs because they couldn't get it in the lift, and put it outside my door. And I opened the door up, and you can imagine I was probably a little bit hungover anyway, and it absolutely frightened the hell out of me. That's the first time I saw it. But you can see Brewy, bless him.
Brilliant.
And then what they did then, while we were having breakfast, they decided to take it from the corridor and they put it on top of the engineer's minibus. And we all came out in the morning. There it was.
Whereabouts is that?
It's is it Hockenheim?
Oh yeah. Oh,
and they decided to put it on top of the engineer's minibus.
Yeah.
I think you wouldn't get away with that. What the hotel was for, God only knows. that was Brewy, one of the truckies. There's a pattern here, though, Hayley, isn't there? Where's the truckies, isn't it? You know,
well, we were sort of like the it's like the court jesters or whatever. You know, a lot of comedians in the game. You know, if I mean, what I will do maybe for the next time, I'll get a list of all the guys that I can think of who were the truckies, and I'll sort of you know, just give them a little name check and a little bit of history on some of them, and keeping it clean.
Yeah,
absolutely keeping it clean.
I've just noticed how Chris moved his light to put it on him, but he put it on the shark. The shark's more important than he is. Look, I love it.
That's it. Oh, yeah. Brilliant.
Brian Spooner says these guys would have been very at home in the Scone Palace. In the Scone Palace.
Where's that? That sounds like somewhere in Devon.
Yeah. So, boys, we've got quite a few more pictures here to share from over the years. So we're going to drop a few more in.
Yeah.
Chris, come from you.
My younger brother Colin, who still works at Williams, and this was in Barcelona when their garage caught fire after the race.
Oh yeah.
And going back to what Ed was saying earlier about how tight the paddock is, the fire service couldn't get into the paddock for the back to put the fire out.
Yeah.
So all the guys were doing it. All the teams run up the pit lane with their own extinguishers to put this fire out.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. That was a big fire. That wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. The first win for Williams for years. The first win was Maldonado, wasn't it?
It was what? Sorry,
Maldonado, the driver. Who was the driver that won it?
I don't know. What do you say, Maldonado?
Yeah.
Pastor. Oh, okay. Yeah.
He won the race in a Williams car that had never come in the top points for years, and it happened to be Frank's birthday.
Right.
Enough, the garage caught fire.
Bloody hell. Yeah.
I don't know what happened there. I
remember. I mean, they had. I don't know if I mentioned this in one of the last episodes, but if not, I mean, they had another thing in Barcelona, I think it was, and you just mentioned one of the truckies, Biddy. Well, Biddy worked with us at Leighton House, and then he went on to spend many years with Williams.
Oh,
anyway,
shit.
they were doing something with some fuel.
We were preheating the fuel.
Preheating the fuel at the back of the garage.
Yeah.
Were you there, Chris? Were you with Williams then? Oh, okay. You tell the story then.
It was Patrick Head came up with this theory about warming the fuel up.
Yeah.
So they had a big tea urn in the back of the garage, and they poured the fuel into it to raise the fuel temperature, and they were like monitoring it all through the evening. But the garages at Estoril, you know what they're like, Ed, the garage doors, the best ever.
Yeah.
And Biddy was in there doing his tyres, and when he unplugged the plug out the wall to wheel the tyres away on their barrow, there was a spark which ignited fuel, and Biddy was struggling to get out the garage door at the back because it had jammed solid. I think somebody put a piece of wood on the outside to stop it coming open.
Okay, yeah.
The garage caught fire.
Oh
Which
my
did
God.
go down to yeah.
So it was a turn. I mean, obviously these things get embellished as you go. I mean, I heard that the vapor from this fuel had got into a Coke machine.
No, it was just the
and then blew that off
as he pulled the plug out the wall.
Yeah,
there was a little spark, and that was it. Woof, up it went.
Yeah. Well, another one at Hockenheim with the fuel was again. I might have mentioned this, but we'd got a bit of problems starting the car on one of the tests, and it was struggling to get the fuel pressure up. So they were turning the engine over to try and get the fuel pressure up. Well, it wasn't happening. So what they would do, and you see, I do know a little bit about it, even though I'm not a mechanic. Now they would take the fuel pipe off the fuel rail, and obviously try to bleed the system to get any air out of it. Well, what happened was, and I know it was Robin Day who did this. He undid the fuel hose, and of course the fuel all started coming out over the engine. So what Robin did, he picked up the nearest thing that he could to catch the fuel, and it was a Coke can.
That's it.
So he put the pipe into the Coke can, emptied the fuel out, and then reattached it. So, fired the engine up. It was no problem. He'd obviously put the Coke can down on one of the toolboxes, and it was a really hot day. And Adrian knew he come marching into the garage, and decided that he was going to have a swig out of whoever's Coke can this was. So off he went, and he got a mouthful of 5-star fuel. His face was brilliant. I think, and somebody says, that bloody teach you, Adrian, get your own drink out the motorhome, instead of swiping ass.
But you never did it again. Gosh.
Oh, no. Oh.
We've got Brian Spooner said, now the Scone Palace should fit right in there. It's a race truck at the Manx Grand Prix, which is the race at the end of August.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay.
I'm going to have to go and visit that, and I'll fill you all in. All right. So we've got more pictures. Ed, I believe this is one of yours.
Well, it is, yeah. And the story behind this one is Yamaha. For the year they came in with the V12 engine was in 91 with Brabham. And they'd been sort of piggybacking off other teams that they'd worked for, like Zach Speed and that, and using Zach Speed's truck and everything. Anyway, it was decided that they would get their own transporter. So what they did, or they approached this Japanese company called Hino, and that's the brand of that truck. Well, the thing is with Hinos, they are basically a truck and a chassis that's used in quarries for tippers. And it's totally and absolutely unsuited to what we were carrying around, which was like sort of lots and lots of engines and computers and telemetry and everything like that. And that thing, it was just horrible. And it actually looks the part there, but let me tell you, that thing wasn't built for F1. But I did 2 years in the thing, and I mean, I was sort of out of the country for 42 weeks a year, with racing and testing and everything, and that was my thing. And what it is as well, with in the cab, you see, all the Japanese people in general are very, very small people, and so am I. I'm only a short fella, but even if you went over a bump in that thing, I was bouncing up and knocking my head off the roof. And because it was just built on leaf springs. And if you've got sort of like 30 ton of rocks out of a quarry in it, it was okay. But with the light sort of weight that we were carrying, then the thing was horrible. But if you go on to the next picture of this truck, and then I'll sort of embellish that a little bit. Right. We're on our way here to the French Grand Prix in Magny-Cours. And I'd come out of Belgium because the truck was registered in Belgium, and I had to go and take it for its annual test. But when I got out over the Belgian border into France, heading down to Magny-Cours, I got about 100 miles south of Paris, and I'd started seeing all of these blockades and lots of burning tires and tractors blocking roads off and all this kind of thing. And it was the French lorry drivers who decided to have go on strike against their working hours. You know, they were getting their tacho hours and their driving hours cut. So the French are very good at, you know, if they want to make a point about something, then they'll go on strike about it, and whatever the consequences. Well, I'm driving down the road and I come to this a blockade. I'd seen quite a few trucks parked up, and I thought, oh, you know, and some lorry drivers wave me into the lay-by. And I thought, well, I'm going to be stuck here for a couple of hours. You know, it's a bit of a pain, but I'll put up with it. After a couple of hours, I decided that I would try and escape. And so I moved the truck out of this lay-by and started moving down the road. And I suddenly saw a load of these lorry drivers in front of me. And they got iron bars and everything like that. And they were making sure that I parked the truck up again. So that picture you see there is me parked up behind another trailer there. And that trailer in front has got all the BP fuel on for the French Grand Prix. That was full of 45-gallon drums of fuel. And the driver, old Spence, who drove that, he'd been stuck there for a couple of days. Now, what had happened was, obviously, these strikers had seen my truck, and as you can see, like, you know, it's a nice painted up thing, and decided that if they kidnapped me, it was going to make a little bit of a statement, and it would probably get on their news and give them the profile that they wanted. But anyway, there was no way that they were going to let me get out of there. And so some of the Jordan team management drove up from Magny-Cours to see what was going on. And to find out, because I'd got about a dozen engines on that truck. I got everything for the race. And so anyway, people like Tim Scott and John Walton had been sent up by Eddie Jordan, go and sort this out and get this truck down to the circuit. Well, there was just no way that was going to happen. So there's a side door there as well. Now, we've got a little office at the front of that truck, and we'd also got a lot a lot of gear, you know, briefcases, team gear, and just general stuff that we needed for the weekend. So myself and Tim went in the office, and these lorry drivers came and locked us in. So we're stuck in the truck with these, you know, with these raging mob outside of us. And two girls that were the hospitality girls for Brabham, they came driving past and they stopped when they saw the truck. Now, these two girls were both French. So they actually had a word with these lorry drivers and said, look, you know, these guys need to get to the circuit. There's a Grand Prix. So they said, right, we'll let these guys out of the truck, but you're not going to take the transporter with you. So that was it. And that truck was then parked there for a week. And what we had to do was a small plane was chartered from Magny-Cours to fly back to Milton Keynes to pick up spare engines and computers and everything like that to be able to do the race. But I know back in the UK, apparently I was on news at 10 and the truck was on there and what have you. But it was quite a hairy experience. Anyway, I got to the circuit, and I remember I was in a bit of a rage really, and I went into the Jordan motorhome, and Eddie Jordan starts taking the mickey and what you done with my truck, blah 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 blah. And anyway, I says, Eddie, I said, you keep out of my way, otherwise you're going down. I said, it's been a chastening experience. I said, so don't take the P. I said, just keep out of my way. And that was it. That was it, you know. So it's been a bit of a long story. But yeah, that truck, we had to fly out another driver to bring it back because the French Grand Prix and the British Grand Prix were double headers. So we had to try and get the thing back after the race. And Bernie actually organised with the French government. He arranged a convoy that we could get out of the circuit after 6 o'clock on the Sunday night after the race. And then everybody drove back in convoy to the ferries to get back. But yeah.
It was quite an expensive weekend because all the mechanics in the pit lane, we had a whip round to see if we can keep you there, but we but
yeah, the joys of the open road.
Yeah.
You just don't realise though, do you? You know, it's the countries that the races go to, that there's always something going on every season, isn't there? You just don't realise how that can impact.
I know.
The logistics of it, but also the crew that are taking care of everything for the team too. So it's I'm glad you still continue. You just got on with the next race and just got to the British Grand Prix.
Yeah. That was it. You know, I mean, fortunately, we got to the the truck was. I think the strike petered out or whatever, or they decided to let everybody get through. And I think Bernie said to the French president or something along the lines of, if you don't let our trucks leave after the race, it's the last French Grand Prix you'll ever have.
Yeah.
So they sort of, the oceans parted after Bernie had spoken.
Right. Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
A pair of those glasses, I think.
I know. Do you want to say about that, Chris?
It's just one of the comical things that we used to get up to. You know, as Ed was saying earlier, even the drivers joined in. You know, they were up for some fun as well.
Yeah. Well, what happened with that one? I mean, this is during the race.
Yeah.
And I it was at Estoril. I mean, that's me stood at the back there. I got a good tan there as well, by the way. But yeah, Ivan had broken down during the race, and I think he'd obviously been going reasonably well. And he just, he'd been wearing those glasses over the weekend in the paddock and just gaming about like he did. And then he just happened to sort of draw those tears on a bit of tape and stuck them there. But that one made the autocourse book for the year. That picture, that was good. Yeah.
A great guy.
He was.
Great picture. All right, let's see what we have next. Now, who is this fine, very well tanned young man?
Well, that is Ivan Capelli again. That was in Rio, and if you look carefully at the picture, you can see the mountain range in the back is like somebody lying down, and I spotted that Ivan's nose was kind of the same kind of profile. So what I got him to do was to try and get his nose in line with the mountain in the back and just take that picture. But the camera that I'd got, obviously it wasn't sort of like what's known as a through the lens camera where you get exactly the shot that you're looking at. So if you remember the old cameras, like the viewfinder was off to the side, so it didn't quite line up. But
it's
once again,
we're not talking about casters or cambers or ride heights or
no, absolutely no.
Let's see if you can get your nose like that mountain range, Ivan.
Let's get the important things sorted out.
It's great that he's just up for it, though, isn't it? It's really.
Absolutely. I mean, he was. I don't know if that was a race or the test. I don't know, because that was one of the things as well. I mean, these days they'll go for 3 days testing, and that was it. That's all they do all year now. Everything's done on simulators and 7-post rigs. Well, I don't know if they still use rigs, but back then, certainly when I was at Goodyear and things like that, January, you'd go to Rio. Yeah. And I don't mean like for a couple of days. You went for the month.
Yeah, that's it.
And it was incredible. That was absolutely incredible. And you'd get back home sort of at the end of January with the most incredible suntan. So what you do is wear like a bright yellow T-shirt to show off your tan and go and see your mates in the pub.
But we'd go to Rio for like a month, and you've got the mechanics on the car. You've got a front end guy, number one mechanic, and a gearbox guy, just the 3 guys on the car. And it got so mundane doing, testing day in, day out. We used to swap around.
Yeah.
I'll go and do somebody else's job. He'll come and do my job. And you'd have like big chairs in the pit lane where the crew would be sitting there, just shorts, no shirt.
Yeah.
The car would be going round and you'd be sitting back, catching the rays while you're, waiting for the car to come back in.
Yeah.
Because it got every day was just doing the same.
Yeah.
Testing.
What you say about shorts and no shirt? I've got a picture which I should have sent over actually of a pit stop during the race in Rio, and it was in '89. And one of our lads and one of the guys on Chris's car was a big fella who couldn't ever get any team gear to fit him. So all he had was an apron and a pair of shorts. Now, this picture, and I'll post it up next time, but he's out of the actual pit stop in the race, and Marcus is on the left rear, and he's there, and all you can see is like this pair of shorts and a big hairy back. No fire suits, no nothing.
No fire suits back then.
But again, like I was saying about, the Japanese, people being small and everything. I mean, I think my team gear was like triple XL.
Yeah.
That's what fitted me. But Marcus was a really big fella, and he just couldn't get any gear to fit him at all. So all he had on, the poor old boy, was his shorts. He got no other team gear.
You've got to pull that picture out, Ed. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, but like I said, I mean, now it's it's fire suits, it's helmets, it's all the rest of it, which is maybe how it should be. But yeah.
We've got a couple more photos we've got time for. Christine Arthur's saying, watching. Good evening, Christine. Thanks for tuning in.
Good evening.
Yes. The great.
Yeah. I tried to find this one last time we had a chat.
Yeah.
The legend.
Fabulous picture.
Yeah. You'd always come up, hello, you guys.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the drivers, it was all the crews, and he'd walk through and say hello, how you doing? Really,
really great guy.
Tell us what year was this one, Chris? This particular picture.
What, the one with Murray?
This one here,
yeah. I think that's probably about 84. That was in
94.
Sorry,
94.
Yeah, sorry, 94. Yeah, it would have been 94. Because that's Tim Wright behind him.
Yeah.
And he stopped racing after that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would be about 94.
Yeah.
Yeah, great man. But he was always
on his face. It's just he's still like a little boy, isn't he? In that in the plane.
Yeah, he was very much like that. I mean, his enthusiasm for the whole thing was fantastic. Yeah.
You know, you didn't have to be a big celebrity or a driver for him to come and chat with you. You know, he'd always walk through the garage, good morning or good evening, and how are you doing, guys? Everything all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was always good fun.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I watched a great episode. Do you remember This Is Your Life? Do you remember that series?
Yeah.
They did an episode on Murray Walker, and Damon Hill was on there, a couple of the other boys. It was brilliant. Johnny Herbert. It was such a great episode to hear them talking about him, and really, really
I'll have to have a look at that one again. Yeah.
Great. Really good. All right. So one more picture then, I believe.
Okay.
It has. Hello.
Right.
Listen, we've got golf picture as well to go with it, haven't we?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the reason I've put these couple of pictures up is the thing, obviously, for those that don't know, I mean, I've got my band from the F1 days, the Buzzing Hornets. And we've actually got a gig in August at it's a place called Embley Park in Romsey in Hampshire. And it's a big sort of it's called the Celebration of Speed, and it's raising money for Jackie Stewart's Race Against Dementia charity. And there's going to be there's going to be a lot of racing cars, a lot of bikes there as well, I think. Entertainment. There's going to be one or two sort of, Buzzing Hornets are appearing, but I think there's one or two slightly bigger acts than us as well. But we're just looking forward to it. But the other picture with the golf one was once again, I mean, I made up part of a 4-ball, and you can see I'm playing with David Coulthard there. And that was another one of Jackie Stewart's charity days. And that was for, I think, for the Dyslexia Society as well. And it was one of those where there were so many different people. I mean, I remember David turning up because we'd been put into this team with David, and you'd got all of the other people, all of the usual celebrities who play golf. They were there. But David and this other guy who was with him, a guy called Joel Cadbury, they'd been out for the night at the Groucho Club in London. So David turned up a little bit sort of worse for wear, because I think they'd been out till God knows what time in the morning. And we got round the course, and as he's put on there, thanks to the company in the bushes. Well, I think what David hadn't realised was one of the other guests and one of the other golfers was Ron Dennis. Oh. And David didn't know that Ron was going to be there. Well, obviously Ron being Ron, David was supposed to be in Monza testing, and he turned up for this golf day instead. And I think it was a little bit of an awkward conversation. So at the dinner after, David didn't show up. He'd got a plane waiting down at some local airfield, and shot off to Monza, where he was supposed to have been for that day. Yeah, I mean, I remember the meal after. I mean, you got, there was some fantastic people there. But I was sat. I remember being sat on the table. It was a bit surreal because, I mean, there's me, just as we were saying, just a truckie really. And I was sat with people I was sat with Jodie Scheckter, Peter Phillips, who was Princess Anne's son, Peter Shilton, Lord Rocco Forte, and Dame Kiri Takanoa. And they were all on my table, But you got loads of the other people there, and well, it was a lovely day. And I think Jackie Stewart, he sort of did the auction of the stuff, and he raised tens of thousands of pounds for charity. Yeah. But there were some serious guys there, and it was a lovely day. And I never get nervous. Whatever I do, I mean, I'll go on stage and I'll talk and I'll do what I do. But standing on a golf tee with everybody watching you, and I mean, I was an okay golfer, not great, but my legs were just like jelly. And I remember I lined the shot up and I hit it. And I walked forward about 10 yards, picked it up out the heather to have another go. Oh, talk about embarrassing, But it was just. You what, mate?
It wouldn't be the first time.
No, just nerves, just absolute nerves of doing something that, in a way, you're not that comfortable with. But yeah, brilliant.
So have you been rocking to many of Ed's gigs? Have you managed to make it to many of them?
No, I haven't, because it's all up north, and I'm scared.
Well, this celebration of speed's going to be in Romsey, so you'll have to get down to there. I mean, it's
Ed.
You what, mate?
Send us the information on it.
I will do. Do, absolutely, because that'll be it'll be a nice day. And I mean, anybody out there that's watching as well, I mean, it's it's quite a prestige event, and there's tickets on sale, and you can buy tables, and it's very much along the lines of sort of like the Grand Prix ball that happens before the Silverstone Grand Prix. It's that type of event, so it'll be worth doing. It'll be worth going to.
Where can people get the tickets, Ed?
If I post you a link, Hayley, I've not got it right on me now, but there's a website that you can go on to and sort your tickets out there. Like I say, rather than just guess at it now, I'll send those over to you. So if you post that up on your group, yeah, that'd be good. All right,
boys. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure once again. I feel like it's date night with my boys. It's great.
That's it.
You got the ING one.
You what? Sorry.
You got the ING jacket picture.
One you sent to Hayley.
Yeah. Because
okay.
On Google or something, it was one of the national papers. And going back to when we was our team kit in Adelaide, Ed, straight away that sprung to mind. This was going off in this war with General Gaddafi, and
new one. Yeah.
So my immediate thought was, who sold it to who?
I've only just seen that jacket. I couldn't work out what that was for.
It was,
but yes,
and to this day, there was a big witch hunt in the factory to find out who actually sold somebody that jacket. And
really?
In a war zone.
I didn't even notice the IMG jacket. I didn't notice that before. We were like, what is this picture all about? Wow.
I thought that.
Yeah.
Oh, blimey.
Absolutely brilliant.
Fabulous.
Thanks for a great evening. Christine says, thanks again for the great show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Boys, thank you once again for your time.
It's a pleasure.
And some pictures. Have a wonderful evening, and we look forward to chatting again soon. Let me know the details of where to get the tickets, Ed, and I'll post it across our page.
Yeah.
And Chris, stay cool. I look forward to the next outfit.
Brilliant. Thanks, Hailey. Thanks, everybody.
Take care, boys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you, Wayne. He says, ciao, ciao, appreciation, awareness, respect. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Have a wonderful evening. And keep an eye out for the next episode. We have many more available on our YouTube channel. If you do want to go back, watch the replays, please do let us know how you get on. Share it with a friend, like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and make sure you set up the notifications so you hear all about any new content that's getting posted, any live shows. And we've got some special announcements coming up on the Spirit of Motorsport TV very soon as well. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in, for your support. Have a great evening. Enjoy the sunshine. Gary Webb, thank you for tuning in. I'm Hailey Coxon. This was Share Your Stories, episode 3 on the Spirit of Motorsport TV.